what I did want to talk about was this shift from the Labour Party to shift from the Home Office actually saying illegal immigration, which is what would have happened under Suella Braverman, to actually calling it irregular immigration. Now, this has been the watchword of the activist mass migration set of sort of lefty liberals who've wanted to change this language to be more nuanced and more accurate in their opinion. And it's provoked a lot of strong opinions. And actually, I said it's a sign, it's a mark, a declaration of intent that the Labour Party has absolutely no qualm whatsoever. We found out 90,000 people will be allowed to apply for for asylum in this country. That's 90,000 people who have arrived here, primarily men, fighting age young men, to actually apply for the right to remain in Britain. That's access to your housing, that's access to your dentistry, that's access to your NHS, that's access to your schools, that's access to your benefit system, anything like that. Bang, 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 bang. Another 90,000 people added into the mix. And that's what I gather from this. We are taking control of irregular migration. Speeding up asylum processing by granting them what is de facto amnesty, their right to remain in this country. Launching Border Command, well, we already had one. And guess what? The chief just resigned saying, no thanks, I ain't working with the Labour government, working with international partners. Oh, let's think about that for all of 2 seconds. Why don't we consider sending France £500 million? Have we tried that one? Oh, yes, of course. We did do that, yep. And it's not in the French interest to allow these people to stay in their country because guess what? They don't want them there either. They're more than happy to see them get into the English Channel in their blown up dinghies or whether it's a yacht, that's what we saw last week, and get themselves across to England, the land of milk and honey, and actually suck the teat of the British taxpayer dry. Come one, come all. That's the Labour response to this. That's what I get out of the changing of the language to be more inclusive, tolerant, kind. All of these watchwords that they use. I'm damn well sick of it, and I think a lot of people in this country are too. And it's about time we voted for change, which is exactly what Alex, you were saying earlier. But am I overthinking this?
I don't think so at all, Darren. I mean, look, there's a reason why governments use language in a specific way. The things that they want, like, Boris famously said, get Brexit done. And they use language in order to indicate their intentions, should I say. And that is exactly what you just nailed. Changing the irregular, the only word that stayed the same there is the I, immigration, illegal immigration is what we're talking about. We're talking about giving everyone that comes across the channel a home, benefits, a school, a dentist, a hospital. These are things that are already in short supply. There is no plans to build new prisons. That we're letting out thousands, tens of thousands of criminals onto our streets. Many of whom have committed violent crimes actually within the last under 4 years of serving time. And this is the country that they're trying to build. It's going to be lawlessness on our streets. I mean, look at Paris. It's a shanty town. It's a shanty town. Yeah. That's what's happened to France. That is what's coming to England. And now that Keir Starmer has changed this policy, it's not. Now that Keir Starmer's changed this policy, you're going to see the results of it. But I get, the only benefit to this, Darren, is that now people will really see what truly living under a Labour government's like. Because this smash the gangs, MI5, James Bond level nonsense is going to get us nowhere. We're going to give money to corrupt governments in Africa and the Middle East. They're going to do nothing but send them more of our way.
Yeah, we just handed over, what was it, 80 odd million quid last week that we're giving to Africa.
And just very, very quickly on that point, the more money we give those corrupt governments, the more likely they are to incentivize these gangs to send people here because they want to keep getting that money. It's completely counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's a good point. Eunice, Time Lord on YouTube says mass deportations for change. Now, the problem with that, I agree, I would like that to happen. But Eunice, the problem is that, of course, Sir Keir Starmer is a former human rights lawyer who was given a gong by Her Majesty the Queen for his trouble, a human rights lawyer that's defended some of the most grotesque people to walk the land, and he's hired a load of human rights lawyers put them into the Lords to give them Secretary of State positions, so they're in charge of British law, and he will never ever let Britain leave the European Court of Human Rights, which of course binds the hands of the United Kingdom's electors from actually being able to bring about proper immigration controls and deportations of those who arrive here illegally, which is the only way that you would ever be able to stop the flow of people entering the country illegally. So we're not going to get that. Time Lord and I can wax lyrical until we're blue in the face, and it ain't going to change under Labour, is it? Or the Tories, because we saw what they did. They did naff all.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say, I feel like this Labour government is going to cause a lot of damage to this country. And I'm actually quite worried. I really am. I just really hope this parliament implodes so we can have another slap election in the next 2 or 3 years. Look, the thing is, once illegal immigrants into your country, you shouldn't let them into your country in the first place. Because once they enter this country, then they might live here for a year or two. Then they might, have a romantic partner. They might have a kid with her. They might start working, and they say, "Well, I've been here, I've done this." And look, there's so many illegal immigrants that apparently, even if you catch them and if you want to give them a court date, it takes like up to 5 years to wait for that court date. And the guy goes along and lives his life for 5 years, like, "Oh, I stayed in this country, I've studied now, I've done this, I've worked, I have a family. You can't kick me out anymore." So it's imperative that we stop these people before them entering, because once they get here, it's very hard to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Let's say
Impossible.
they enter this, impossible basically, yeah. And they all say, "Oh, we've converted to Christianity, and if we go back to our country because it's an Islamic country, we're considered apostates that will kill us, and then because of the human rights court, you can't deport them." The thing is, unfortunately, and we have to accept this if we want to be really rational about this and we want to be really honest about it, right? America and Britain and Western Europe, unfortunately, they toppled a lot of democracies in the Middle East in the 70s, with Iran being my country being one of them. They started a illegal war in Iraq, and they went to Afghanistan and Syria and Libya and all these countries. And but they were calling Saddam Hussein a terrorist or a dictator, but Saddam Hussein had these people under control. Yeah, Iraq was in a much better position when Saddam Hussein was in charge. The Shah of Iran, which is 1,000 times better than Saddam Hussein, he was an extreme progressive liberal guy. The America and Britain overthrew him. Why? Because of cheap oil. So in order to understand, as we know, America funded ISIS, to rise against Bashar al-Assad. And these are all the strategic mistakes that the West, the Western Europe, UK, and US have made. And that's why we're in the pickle we are at the moment. Because we ruined these societies in the Middle East. Now everyone, and the worst of them actually, are immigrating, and we can't do anything about it. I want the West to win because I live in the West. I have my whole life here, my whole family here. We just can't take any more immigrants. Okay, let's say I have sympathy and empathy for these immigrants. We just can't take them anymore. Our infrastructure can't take them anymore. They have to go elsewhere. They have to go to Eastern Europe.
Eunice,
And that's what, yeah. Go
Go
on,
on,
go on.
Alex.
Eunice, you hit a really important nail on the head here, and this is the failure.
Yeah.
This is what we've been living with
Yeah.
these globalist neoliberal agenda. This is not just an agenda pushed by one or two. It's an agenda to destabilize certain regions of the world, which America does very
Yeah.
well. For a little bit there. Sorry, guys.
Hang on, you're going to have to
Darren
repeat
carry
what
on,
you said.
but the
Repeat
point.
what you said. Repeat what you said. You were sort of going a bit awry there.
Sorry about that, guys. My signal isn't very good at home at the moment.
Blame Elon Musk.
Eunice touched on a really. Yeah, it is Elon's fault. Eunice touched on a really important point. There is a global agenda from Western governments across the world that is led by America, unfortunately, to destabilize regions of the world. The Americans do it very successfully in South America, but we also have been doing it in the Middle East, and we have to take responsibility for that. We have to look at our governments in the eye and say, we do not want you interfering anymore in foreign affairs. This is what Trump's biggest policies. We need to remove
Exactly.
ourselves from these wars because we can know. Look, I don't mind if we go to war for defensive reasons. That's the whole point of having weaponry. But we can't keep on destabilizing nations around the world and expecting not to bite us on the arse. We need to boot out these warmongers.
Yeah.
And we had this summer today, seeing the entire PMQs about Ukraine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
mad. This
no,
is
hang
mad.
on,
That's just
hang
what
on.
we're living with.
I wouldn't blame Sir Keir
Yeah.
Starmer for that because this was Rishi Sunak's opening gambit, right? He's leader of the opposition. You've got Sir Keir
True.
Starmer as Prime Minister.
True.
Yes.
And his opening gambit to ask his 3 questions that the leader of the opposition gets to ask the Prime Minister. It could have been on illegal migration. It could have been on a whole host of issues that the Labour Party are vulnerable on. The trans stuff that Lisa Nandy said earlier today. Take your pick. There is a lot of stuff that they've even done over a limited period of a few weeks. And he said we need to actually continue sending X amount of weapons to Ukraine, give them their shopping list, despite the fact that it's a incredibly corrupt regime. We don't know where the billions of pounds we've already given them has gone. And actually, it's right to be sceptical, as NATO is, sceptical on the viability of Ukraine to actually join because they are so thoroughly corrupt. So he said, right, my opening gambit is to talk about Ukraine. It's a soft topic. The Uniparty, 2 cheeks of the same wrinkly old horrendous behind, needs to go. And I am at my wit's end with all of this. So yeah, I don't think you can exclusively blame Starmer there.
It's
True.
the neoliberals.
This is why they're so afraid of Trump.
Yeah, exactly. It's the neoliberals that are now morphed into the globalists, and that was the world order after World War II. And we had this new wave of neoliberalism all around the world, but their time has come and gone. And Obama was a neoliberal, so is Keir Starmer, all these people, and it morphs into globalism and all these things. And that's why they're scared of people like Nigel Farage, they're scared of people like Trump, they're scared of people like Marine Le Pen. They're scared of populists because they are not from the establishment. They're
They're
not from the
scared of
gang.
politicians. They're scared of politicians that want to put their own country first for a change. That is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of you at home getting power back from them who have been waging illegal wars all over the world, getting away with it. You've got people like Alistair Campbell shoved on your TV screen, who is technically responsible for taking us into an illegal war which had no precedent. It's bizarre. To start looking around you, open your eyes up to the facts of what's going on in your propaganda channels and see that you're being fed information from people like Tony Blair being pushed out on the BBC, who led our country into an illegal war, and then now who then takes credit for importing people into our country that have caused terrorism. It's absolutely bonkers when you put it into context. And yet we demonize people like Donald Trump, who wants to withdraw America from the international wars, who never started a new foreign war while he was president. Yet the other lot all started multiple wars and are heralded by the liberal media as some sort of saviors. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Well,
100%.
Side-Eye Sheba on YouTube says the West hasn't destabilised the Middle East. That's Islamist rhetoric to justify terrorism and their wish of Israel's destruction. We should be supporting
No, but
Israel
that's
and
not true at
democracies
all.
around the
Because,
world.
well, first of all, I don't know who this guy is. I feel like he needs to watch my content. I'm actually very pro-Israel and I'm anti-Islamist and I criticize Islam a lot, right? However, there was Winston Churchill wrote a letter to Queen Elizabeth, and in that letter, he said that Islam is the biggest threat to humanity. And if we want to destabilize the Middle East, we have to use Islam because people in the Middle East can't say no to Islam. They couldn't do that to Japan, for example. They had to drop 2 nukes on Japan in order to get them to surrender. But their foreign policy was like, well, if you want to overthrow a democratically elected government that is prospering, like the Shah of Iran, let's say, let's go and recruit a cleric, Islamic cleric called Khomeini. Let's fund him. Let's use Islam and make the Shah look like the devil and make this Khomeini guy look like a saint. And then we're just going to use Islam to overthrow him, right? Go and look at the pictures. I dare everyone, go and look at the pictures from the 1960s and the 70s of Iran, of Afghanistan, of Iraq, of Lebanon. And you'll be amazed how liberal they are, how open they are, how women are just sat by the beach drinking a cocktail. Now go to Lebanon, you have Hezbollah. Now go to Iraq, you have ISIS. Now go to Iran, you have the Islamic
But
Republic.
well,
Now
what
go
do
to
you say to
Afghanistan, you
the
have Taliban.
Eunice? What do you say to this comment? Because Nick says Shia, it's actually Shia Islam that destabilized the Middle East and more than the CIA or whatever else.
No, no, I don't agree because majority of the terrorist organizations in the world are actually Sunni. So
Yeah.
Boko Haram is Sunni, ISIS is Sunni, Taliban is Sunni. As I said, Islamic Republic is the only Shia. Hamas is Sunni. So Iran is the only Shia entity. And it's funny to me that Islamic Republic of Iran is a Shia entity, but they're funding Hamas and Houthis and Hezbollah, which are all Sunni. So, this guy, Musab Hassan Youssef, the son of Hamas, have you read his book?
Yeah, yeah.
And have you watched it? Yeah. So he says that it's funny because they have Israel as a mutual enemy. If they didn't have Israel as a mutual enemy, they will be killing each other. And I
Right.
100% agree with him.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.